everybody, welcome to the Kantech webinar series. Today's topic is on desktop deployment and command center view of your system, and what you can do with your desktops mostly, including maps, videos, and a bunch of other things we can definitely do with the EntraPass desktops. All right. So what we can do here is I'm already in my desktop. So what are desktops? Desktops are our views that we can build, and these are not the system views. The desktops belong to you as an operator. That's a common misconception, is that I don't want to touch his desktops. It's going to affect Bob's views. No, these belong purely to you. Okay, so these 8 desktops belong to you, and based on the rights you have, you can give these desktops to somebody, not be able to change them, and so on. A lot of the material we're covering today is actually going to be covered throughout different webinar series. So please visit us at youtube.com under the Kantech webinar series, and that will give you different topics on how to do video integration, for example, how to do maps, and so on. A lot of that is covered in details throughout the courses. So what we have here is our events. Now I've pre-programmed some of them, but by default they're all called desktops 1 to 8. Now these 8 views can all be used as once, but separately, but they all offer the same features. It's up to you to configure them. Like desktop 1 is my events, whereas desktop 2 is something called a filtered desktop, which allows me to filter my events and only see specific events. Very, very practical from what I want to see here. Okay, and so on. For example, when I go to my desktop and desktop 1, I get to see my events that I have pre-configured. So let's go look at that one. This is the most popular one, and the rest will follow as we go along. One thing is, Tom, yours is different color. Yes. The desktops are configurable, and the one thing we're going to learn in EntraPass that you guys have learned also is that right-click is the #1 rule, right? What do we do when we don't know what we're doing? We right-click. If I go, there should be a menu here. What do we do, Rob? We
right-click.
Right-click. So let's right-click. And you're going to get a bunch of options. I'm not going to go through all of them today, but some of them are pretty obvious. But we're going to go to Properties. Under our Properties, here we can actually deploy what we want to see. First of all, the color background message. The color background message is actually important here because we could change the background. That's how you make it a darker color. Now, the benefit here is that on newer screens, the white background will contradict or flash against the yellows and the reds, which are very important, whereas a blue, for example, isn't as important. So changing the background color definitely does help. Now, what you could also do is you say, you know what? I want all the events to be in the same color. I don't like this Christmas tree thing. I do like it because every event is color-coded, but it gives you the ability to say, you know what? I want it in green. And now all the events will be in green. Notice carefully that it changes everything to green, kind of a matrix style looking like, or DOS base. But all the color codes are in the yellow, as you can see here. Okay. Now in here, I could see everything. I could also right-click and go to Properties. And you know what? I'm going to put it back to the way I like it with colors, because I like to see the different colors. It's easier to find a door first open. But I could also display something called the origin, something I really like. And that the origin is, where is this site coming from? What is this event coming from? It gives me the name of the site. So a lot of you guys call your doors front door, back door, side door, right? But you have 20 buildings. So let me tell you, every building has a front door. Yes, and most likely they all have side doors or back doors. So the benefit here is that when I pick the origin here, I already had it open, it tells me where it's coming from. So it makes my life a lot easier to search for something. See, I had called the building A training, but my name on my door on the right here was called BLGA, front door. Now, I did a good thing of naming everything, but not all the time is everything named the way we're supposed to, right? Like it's called new connection. It should be called demo, right? For example. And the reason why I do this is I can actually search for my desktop here on my text filter, allowing me to search for whatever is in here. So I can search, for example, BLGA and press OK. And now it will search and give me only what's happening as BLGA. Any event that does not belong in here will not show up after the fact. So if I remove my text filter, building B events, for example, will not flicker themselves inside there. All right, so those events are lost. Now, before we go crazy and say we lost events, the events aren't lost. They are stored in the reports, and we could always run reports, which is covered in a different topic. But under the events, we can now filter and see them not in the desktop itself. 1 second, John. Sorry about that. So in here, we have the ability to see all that. Now, one of the cool stuff is I get to see events happening in real time. And there are more rules and flexibilities we can do that we have that we can play around with our desktops. My favorite is the event that is there that is called, for example, I have access granted, and I have the person's name. So on the right, I have the door name. I have the card number that it applied to, and then I have the door name. If I right click, I can hit edit. And under edit, I can edit not only the card, but I can edit the door. So as an installer, if you're doing troubleshooting, you don't have to go find the door among 1,000. You swipe the card, you get the event, and you can right click edit. Also, you can actually right click and edit the card, and that will shortcut you directly into the appropriate card menu for that particular person. The benefit here, I can simply go change whatever I have to go change, and I press save, and automatically the card holder has been changed. Simple as that. Okay. Why do I like this? Is because I can configure everything that I want from my desktop as I wish. So if I right click again and hit door or edit the card, I can modify accordingly whatever I want. Now the cool part is this, if this event is covered in a video, I could actually play the video clip. So again, not only can I modify my access granted, but if I had a door forced open, for example, which had video playback, I can play back the video directly if I ever wanted to. All right. So you have various settings you can perform from here and see everything on my desktops. Now, how do I get this desktop called desktop? Well, we saw one of them. It's very simple. If you right click on the desktop, see again, right click, and I go to properties, I can configure my desktops the way I want. All these 8 desktops have the same settings. You can do whatever you wish to configure them the way you want, okay? So for example, I could rename it how I wish. And I could also say, you know what? Let me change the message screen or change the graphic screen and so on and so forth. I could actually add components. I'm going to show them separately for you guys because it's important to see them, and I only have one screen, but you can make them on multiple screens, and you could also make them floating. Floating means they appear on multiple, they could appear on different screens. They're not tied inside the Kantech software. Okay. The benefit here is, so I'm going to just pick something else. For example, I'm going to put graphic screen number 1 here. I press OK and go. And now I have my graphic screen that's open also on the system. And now I can have both. Notice the mines are floating. They're floating outside the software at the same time. So they're floating outside the software here as you wish. Now the cool part from here is I'm going to go see my filtered desktops. My filtered desktops are a bit different. Now notice carefully, I had the graphics screen already put here because I had prepared this if I ever wanted to. If I go right-click Properties, I can actually take off the graphics screen if I ever wanted to, like this, and change it. How is the filtered desktop different than the regular desktop? The filtered desktop allows me to filter for events that are specific, that I've pre-made these choices of events directly in my system. The benefit here, I only see my access granted, and notice that it also populated it directly without me having to do something. That's because the filter desktop will filter real time. I'm going to generate a door first open on my door, for example. Notice that it won't appear on my access events, but if I choose all my events, notice carefully that I get to see my door forced open magically appear. So the filter desktop just temporarily filters what you can't see. Okay? And again, you can right click and perform different actions. Also, something I've added, and this can be added to multiple desktops, not only the filtered messages, but also the regular events. I can add pictures to my people. So if I want to do a swipe and show type of environment, I can definitely do swipe and show and see the person's information. It also keeps by default the last person's information, but it allows me to keep the picture. If some people like to actually follow the event, they can right-click in Properties and say Uncheck Picture Card, and this will now follow the event. So whatever the event has, the picture will show up accordingly. See, the information changes. So as you swipe your card, the picture of that particular person will show up on the event screen, and you get to see it the way you want. Now, the cool part of all this is if you have a lot of cards, you may not be able to see all the pictures because they're scrolling fast like this, right? One of the really, really cool things is, again, what's the answer, Rob? Right-click, and we can go to Properties, and we can change and see multiple screens at the same time. We can see up to 4 different pictures at the same time based on an event, right? Or no, I don't care about all my pictures. All I care is about the front door. So building a front door, I want these two to be cycling through each other and the last two to cycle through all the events. So now what this does, it makes 4 identical cubes, right? And you could change I forgot to mention, you could change the behavior of, you know what, I don't want to see all the information, or just show me the event, for example. And that will fix them up for you. So now when I swipe my card on A, right, the picture will show up accordingly. There you go. And then B will show up somewhere else. Notice that it will actually skip a card because I didn't tell it to go to the next reader. This is only part of this next door. On my maps, again, I've built my maps, and the cool part is I have 3 maps cubes that I can pick. I can right-click, select graphic, and choose a map of my choosing, which now doesn't have any icons on it, but I can build a map out of this. Let's see if I have another map that has. Oh, there you go. This one has a little icon on it that I had already put. So the benefit of that, it actually fits my screen. Now, what happens if I have a really small screen and I want to have my map this big? So if I right-click and select my graphic, it's going to give me that graphic, but notice that it's truncated. Oh, it's very simple, Mr. Customer. Expand it like this. That's not very fun. What I could do is I can right-click and do a fit to screen. By doing a fit to screen, now it will take any resolution and shrink it according to the particular window you have. Obviously, that's kind of tiny, but it's very practical if you have a really small screen. But you can make it bigger, and the icons, as you can see, will self-adjust accordingly. Now, the benefit here is if you have a huge map, well, you can resize it in real time in here and not have to worry about where the icons are placed. It will resize it for you. If I double click, notice that my icon changes a bit here. It moved around. That's because I had prepared double click actions for it. What's a double click action? It allows me to navigate throughout my software, throughout my maps. So an icon like this is the map icon, which allows me to go to my second floor. So if I right click, I can click on view. But if I double click, it does the exact same thing. So kind of a quick shortcuts to get to the next map. All right. Now if I had a door icon, let's go pick a door icon here. So go to my maps, let's say for example, and I choose my map. Click on that has something. There you go. And I'm gonna go and drag a door inside. I'm gonna go drag the front door. I could also drag a camera. Let's go pick this door here. And then I can right click on the camera to say every time I double click, I want to view the video. And on the door, every time I double click on the door, I want to do a one-time access. So you can build all these right clicks in here. And you can build lockdowns and different tasks and apply all these in here if you ever wanted to. So I press save. Now when I go to my floor 2, notice carefully I have my camera and I have my door. And if I double click on a particular door, it will perform the action that I wish. Notice that the door icon did change. And if I double click on the camera, it brings up video of that particular camera. All within my graphics screen. So while I'm actually playing around with my graphics, I double click on the door, unlock it temporarily, and also view the video of who's going through. But notice carefully, I didn't have to move the window again. The software remembers the position of every single window you have. So it remembers every single window you have. So it's easy for you to place them. Once you place them the first time for your operator, right? It will allow you to view the video. Now, if I just simply double click, it comes back online. Now, if I right click, I can actually perform a different action. So double click is the default action, but you can right click and perform various different actions if you ever wanted to. Now you're like, oh, this is all cool and fun, but I don't want my operator spending time building these views. What if I build it for everybody, right? How do I give it to them? Because don't forget, the view belongs to you. So it's very simple. I place my view the way I want it. This is where I want it. This is where I want my floor plans. Because now, as you guys can see, I have different views. Don't forget to fit the screen here. And then I close it. If I hit the X button, notice that it disappears. If I right click on my events and I go to assign, I can now assign this my view to one of my colleagues as operators. So these are operators, and now I'm sending them that view. So I press OK, and now when they log in, they're gonna have the exact same view at the exact same spot, exactly where they left it. Right? So the cool part here is they're your views, but you could definitely give them to somebody else if you want. And each operator can have up to 8 different views, of which each view can have right clicks, can have actions. Now be careful, you as the system administrator can turn any of these actions off. You can say, for example, they can't move the window. They can only close it and reopen it. So you make sure that all your operators have the exact same view from any workstation and interface they are. Now, the question is, what if I change computers? What if I change workstations? Do I need to change and rebuild all my views? Rob, what do you think?
I think it's tied to the operator login, so the answer is going to be no.
Exactly. It's tied to the operator login. So it doesn't follow the workstation. It doesn't follow your colleagues. It follows you. Those are your views. Now, the coolest part, if you notice carefully, is that every time I play something and I closed it, when I went back in, it was exactly where I left it off. Now, what's even cool is if I actually get out of the software, if I log out of the software and I log back in on any workstation, it's going to remember for that workstation the position of the windows. So if I have a workstation that has a dual screen and I place my windows the way I wanted them, when I log back in, it places everything exactly the way I left it off. With my favorite window, my graphic, my events, all that, my video cameras, all on the same specific platform and at the right specific window. So you're not losing anything there. On the different computer that you have that has one screen, well, it's going to place everything the way you left it on that workstation. So we have a lot of memory allocated to the desktop views. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Kantech webinar series on desktops. I know it's a bit of showing a bit of everything, but I want to show you how powerful the desktops can get and what you can do with them across the platform. I'm going to open up to questions in a few seconds, but I hope to see you guys next week and the next few weeks. We're going to have some cool webinars coming up.